All right, Greg, I want to end on this one, but I really feel like we're going to do more on this. Heat fans kind of freaked out on Twitter because Dwayne Wade is having Allen Iverson present him at his Hall of Fame ceremony, and I honestly was surprised. I'll just put it that it's an interesting choice for a whole bunch of reasons, but Heat fans freaked out because they see it as more distance between him and the Heat organization. Because why would he not? I don't know that he would have picked Pat. I thought he could have picked, someone else who was associated with the Heat. Maybe first thing, do you have? It doesn't have to be a Hall of Famer to present you, correct?
It does have
Okay,
to
so
be a Hall
let's
of Famer. So like that's if you
okay.
think around the organization, because I did this exercise because at first I was I was surprised. It could be Riley, it could be Alonzo, it could be LeBron.
No, it
It
can't be LeBron.
oh well yeah, because he's not in yet. Thank you.
Right,
It could be Chris Bosh.
right.
And that's basically the list of guys from the Heat that it could be. So then, like, he's looking around elsewhere. And Iverson was always the guy. He wore number 3 because of AI. He always patented his game after AI. He would say that was like the guy he watched along with Michael Jordan, etc. So, um, I think Heat fans are getting a little over emotional because of the Utah Jazz connections and the lack of him ever getting in the ownership group here, etc. So this is just another one of those things where they're seeing him not walking hand in hand with the Heat organization as we kind of wish he would, the way Alonzo Mourning does today. And so, but if you really look at the list of guys it could have been, I don't know that Zoe or Pat or CB were the right guys for him necessarily. I guess everyone can make their own their own observation on that, but I don't think those three guys were the ones.
Well, I think if okay, from a ceremonial purpose, having Pat present him after the way that things kind of went down in 16 and then him coming back, I think would have been a nice finishing touch for Heat fans. CB is a close friend of his still. I mean, they became the funny thing about him and CB was he became extremely tight with CB when LeBron left. And so and they were at dinner the other night. A little surprised by that. But the AI thing here, as we close, and Alice, I'll let you handle this. What's funny about AI is that he played his first ever game against him, wore the same number. But I remember when Iverson was in the later stages of his career, and I was at a golf tournament that Dwayne was hosting, and I asked him about AI, and he was like, "No, no, no." Like I so that's why I was surprised. I don't know if it was because again, at that point, Iverson didn't have a lot left to offer as a player. But I always saw them as a little bit different in terms of the way that they handle things as players. And I know AI has been one of the guys that has been very generous about the new generation. He's not one of these Hall of Fame types who's always saying our play was better. Like you hear from Charles or Shaq. AI is like the opposite about that. He's embraced all those guys, and so they love him. So I think it's a nice choice in that respect. But I guess I was a little surprised. So that's
Yeah, I was a little surprised too, but I think what you hit on there at the end is really what it's about. The type of love that he shows to everybody. I know Dwayne has spoken before about like AI being one of those guys he watched as he came up, and you mentioned wearing the number 3, all of that. There's been the videos floating around social media of them embracing each other at different times, and I really do think it comes back to that of like showing love theme, because that's been something that's been widely reported. Um, and I think that's kind of what it's all about for Dwayne. Obviously, I'm just kind of speculating from the outside what it seems to me. He's when you think about Allen Iverson, like a lot of people will talk about him as one of the most influential players of his generation of all time. Whatever you want to say, like I think it's kind of a fitting pick. I don't think Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame induction should all be about the Miami Heat. I know is what this podcast is about. I think it would have been cool, right? If it was Pat, if it was CB, you could even throw in Shaq, because that's kind of how the whole thing started with his resume and winning championships, all of that. AI to me is a cool pick. Everybody has a lot of love for AI. AI has a lot of love for everybody, and I think it's a cool way for him to kind of, put a bow on his career.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily the Shaq. You made a good point here as we close. You made a good point about Shaq and how that's kind of how it started for him with the Heat. in terms of winning championships, obviously, because he was already building a legacy in his rookie season without him in terms of winning that first round series. But I don't know necessarily that if it was Shaq, Heat fans would feel it was that much more associated with the Heat because of the way the Shaq left. So, and again, a lot of that has been repaired over time. But I think Heat fans are just sensitive to everything Dwyane right now. And look, if Dwyane doesn't thank Pat in his induction speech, then yes, we have a conversation. But
if he was a part owner right now or a minority owner of the Heat right now, I don't think any of this we wouldn't even be talking about it right now.
No, nobody would care.